go. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. I gotta be honest with you, that game drove me nuts. I cannot believe the Buccaneers lost that game. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Tough one. Man, that was an absolute laser from Cooch, wasn't it?
What a crazy game. The Bulls are bowl-bound for the third season in a row. An incredible performance. And listen, we know the competition. They did what they had to do. No more silver linings. No more moral victories. It was put up or shut up time. And boy, did they rise to the occasion.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast here live, not from USF, from Benchmark International Arena. Forgot to change that. Boom. We are here, January 29th, 2026. Hope everybody is well. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Continue to share and do your part here on the program. I love the super chats, $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, whatever you guys can do to contribute to the program. I definitely appreciate it. And of course, a big thank you to our partners here, Honest Hammer Custom Builders LLC, for all of your residential and commercial needs. You gotta take care of that too. And then also Evara Health. We have our Evara Health injury report with our good pal, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. He's going to be joining us at 12:30 today. Usually we chat with Ed Encina from the Tampa Bay Times at 1:30, but he's got to head over to the stadium today. So he's going to join us at 12:05. So right at the top of the show, Ed is going to join us to talk some Lightning hockey. Again, we are here at Benchmark International Arena. I will not be at the game tonight, so I'm not suited and booted, but I do have my boob Manchester United hoodie on. And I was rubbing it in the face of Brian Breesman and Julie Stewart-Binks. JJ Moser loved it, and that's all that really counts. That is all that really counts. Great show for you guys today. Again, Ed joins us in about 3 minutes. Of course, we have the injury report at 12:30. 1 o'clock, we're going to talk about that news with Mike Evans. I was going to talk about Todd Bowles. We're going to push that discussion to another day. But we're seeing from Andy Pauline, it looks like there's a less than 50-50 chance that Mike Evans returns to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next year. What does that mean? It's kind of something that we've been talking about here on the program. We'll discuss at 1 o'clock today. We'll also look at a couple of different things. I got a chance to talk to Dominic James today. We heard from Victor Hedman. We'll do that at 1:15. And then at 1:30 today, the most entertaining player in sport right now, the most entertaining professional athlete right now. I was watching him again last night. We spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to mention it again just because I think he's number one. It was Connor McDavid for a very long time. I don't think it's Connor McDavid anymore. And I don't really think there's much of a debate, to be honest with you. Comments, questions, concerns, put them there at the bottom of the screen. Benny, Bolts are downing the Jets tonight. How about DT? Jaybird Mac Attack might be back tonight. And what a match yesterday by Liverpool, putting up a six-banger. You got that right, buddy. Honest Hammer in the house, our guy Russ. Going to be freezing Sunday for the game. Going to be awesome. You got that right. The weather is going to be cold. Everybody bundle up. I was out there last night for practice and a game. The Pendingos 2-0. Undefeated season so far. You got to love it. Honest Hammer, again, Custom Builders LLC for all your residential and commercial needs. 813-244-0956. Evara Health, everahealth.org. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in, whether you're here in the Tampa Bay area or abroad. What a week ahead. I mean, this is a little bit of the calm before the storm, you would usually say, because we know that this week is the second to last week of the NFL season, right? There's a lot of discussion going on with the Patriots and the Seahawks. It's kind of flown under the radar a little bit with all the different news that we've seen in the NFL, right? With the Belichick stuff and then the Bo Nix and Sean Payton craziness, where it looks like they don't see eye to eye when it comes to Bo Nix's injury. The NFL's wild, man. It really is. There's nothing that the NFL can do to sour enough people to make it not number one in this country. It is just the most toxic, contagious relationship that I think we have in North American sports. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. People are still going to love it. People are still going to tune in. The Super Bowl is still going to be watched and viewed by people that don't even give a crap about football. I don't know if that's something great about our country, something bad about our country, but all I know is that it doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. You can talk about so many different things, but Todd Bowles filling out his staff's defensive line coach. They brought him in yesterday from Buffalo. I like that because I'm a big fan of what the Buffalo Bills were able to do the last couple of years, especially on the defensive line with Ed Oliver and those guys. Big win last night for USF men's basketball. Unbelievable performance by Coach Hodson's team. Got to keep those winning ways going for the Bulls, whether it's the men, the women. Yesterday at Media Day, after the power hour that we had at the USF baseball and softball complex, if you've never been to a game there, if you've never been to a baseball or softball game right there in Temple Terrace off of Fowler Avenue, you have to go. If you're a baseball or softball fan, I'm telling you, it is one of the best venues to watch a game anywhere. And if you're lucky enough that they play on the same day, you can just be in this one ticket will get you an ability to watch both games. Coach Mitch Hannes, to be able to chat with him yesterday. Kevin Kiermaier was out there working with O'Neal Cruz on the Pirates and also talking to some of the players with the Bulls. And then USF softball, Ken Erickson, bringing back arguably the best defender in the history of USF softball, Kathy Garcia Soto. His pitching staff looks incredible. You have Wilkes playing shortstop. This two really good teams with USF baseball and USF softball. I mean, I told you, they're in the American now. But once this athletic program makes that jump to a big-time conference, and I think eventually it'll be the Big Ten or the SEC. The Big Ten or let me say that again. Big 12 or the ACC. Easy for me to say. I think it'll be the Big 12 or the ACC. I think the ACC, look out because the sky's the limit. And the way that they are spending money at USF, they are just a sleeping giant. They are not on the way. They're the only thing that's holding them back is them being in the American. But the way that they're putting the finances into the resources that they have, it's very, very exciting. Just to be over there, there's just a different buzz going on with USF athletics. All right, our guy Ed Encina should be joining us in a minute. I'm sure he's finding a way. He was worried about where can I go? I said, it doesn't matter where you go. I'm kind of looking around to see if he's. I don't see him anywhere. It might be on the ice. Some of the Winnipeg Jets are still on the ice right now here at Morning Skate. They are the opponent for the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. And listen, we know when these two teams get together, we look at the goaltenders because arguably the two best in the last decade with Andrei Vasilevsky and Connor Hellebuyck. Connor Hellebuyck's our guy for Team USA, so he's got a special place in my heart. He better put Vasilevsky and the Bolts to do their thing. But the guys are getting ready, and they are excited for Sunday's game. We're going to hear from Dominic James, and we'll hear from Victor Hedman a little bit later here on the program in the 1 o'clock hour. Again, after we talk to Dr. Carlos Rodriguez for the injury report and have that discussion about Mike Evans. I know there's a lot of Bucs fans out there wondering if they have seen the last of number 13 with the Buccaneers. But let's go here into the arena. Somewhere in the bowels of the arena, he found a place to chat with us, and it is the one and only, the original Ooze. There he is. You went. I know exactly where you are.
Where am I? Can you wave to me?
No, you can't see me from where you're at. You're up in the third level. That is where we used to do Bolts Breakdown with Gabby Shirley and Chris Kren. So that's a good spot. That's a good spot right there.
You got the flags. You got the banners.
America. How are you, buddy? Long time no see.
How we doing?
I was telling everybody today, I was like, Ed is finding a place right now to be able to chat with us with some Tampa Bay Lightning. Some good news today, seeing Victor Hedman out there. Obviously, Ryan McDonough yesterday. I don't think Hetty's going to be available tonight, maybe on Sunday, but it looks like with Ryan McDonough coming off of IR, that it looks like he'll be back in the lineup tonight, right, Ed?
Yeah, I think so. I think all the signs point to it. The coming off IR, obviously, also, the fact that he wasn't out there today during a more optional morning skate with the injured players, and just we've seen him yesterday in practice. We've seen him doing regular line rushes. So I think all signs point to Mac being back, and it's this. I think we talked about before. This has been one of those situations that the team's been very careful about in terms of making sure that when he comes back, he's back for good. So it's taken a while. I think it's like 33 out of 36 games he's missed, dating back to November 8th. So it'll be good to get that veteran leadership back on the blue line, and I'm sure he'll probably be paired back with Recher, his old buddy, and see where they go from there.
So who do we think are the 6 defensemen that'll be in there tonight? It'll be Moser and Radish, McDonough and Chernak, and then it'll be Crozier and who am I missing?
Carlisle.
And Carlisle's played really well, man. I asked John Cooper about this the other night. He's tough, man. And one of the big videos that has gone viral is Sean Dursey cursing at him. And I got a lot of Utah fans riled up because I said I'd be pissed too if I got headlocked and taken down and owned by a guy that's been in the league for 33 games. That did not go over well with the Utah fan base. That really, but he's done a good job, Ed. I mean, you think about this team and the defensemen and how well that they've played with guys like Lilleberg and McDonough and Hedman and even Chernak and now Dastu out. It speaks volumes of this coaching staff. And, we say we bring this up a lot in sports, but that next man up mentality, some teams talk about it. The Lightning have actually been about it this year, haven't they?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's even been a surprise to the team and the player development staff how good it's been. I think everyone knows that you've got guys who you can call up on a fill-in basis. But when you mention guys like Carlisle, Steven Santini, Max Groshev has had a couple games. A lot of guys who've come up from Syracuse is they filled in and they played big minutes because they've had to, and I think that it's a good problem to have. But obviously, when Victor comes back, whether that's Sunday or, whatever it is, I think he'll come back at least some point next week before the Olympic break. But, I think you've got a problem. You've got too many bodies there. And, a guy like Declan Carlisle is going to have to clear waivers before he's reassigned to the AHL. So some tough decisions that they're going to have to make. Obviously, the Dastu injury is a, kick the can kind of thing, but he's going to be back. I don't think he's done anything to go anywhere. And I don't think, Carlisle has to get demoted. Some of these guys like Crozier, I think Dastu, but I don't think Dastu's going anywhere. But I think they do have option eligibility that they don't have to clear waivers before they're sent back down. But and when we talked to Julian Breezeball earlier in the month, he had said a big priority is going to be able to keep that depth because they know they have it now and they don't want to lose it. And as we know, injuries come up really quickly, especially when you're an NHL defenseman and you're skating 20-some minutes a night and you're taking pucks to your body all the time. So, I think it's going to be a tough decision, but I do think that they're going to try to figure out ways to make sure that they preserve this depth that they know they have now, and because it's going to go a long way after the break and in the playoffs.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm getting some good signs. We saw Charlie Dastu kind of like jogging around, trying to get in and out of if he was that hurt, he wouldn't be skipping through the locker room trying not to talk to anybody. But it was a good sign that Victor Hedman spoke today because I think when you're a veteran at that level, you can talk and not be back yet, right? I think he knows what to say. He knows not to put the cart before the horse. It'll be tough to see him, I think, on Sunday. I think he I wouldn't be surprised if he took part in practice and maybe he was out there. I wouldn't be surprised if he was out there for a pregame skate, right, with the team and then doesn't play, right? I wouldn't be surprised with that at all. But yeah, and then you think about Charlie Dastu. Hopefully he'll be back soon. And Braden Point, I heard that he was on the ice today here at Benchmark International Arena, and I heard that he looked good and he was skating around and he didn't look like he had much limitation. So that's a really positive sign for the Tampa Bay Lightning going forward. How impressed were you, Ed, with the team's performance against Utah? Obviously, going against Columbus, it was kind of the end of the road trip, kind of the end of the line when it came to that win streak. you wonder if it's going to go off the rails a little bit, or if they just aren't as buttoned up as they have been the last couple of months. I think obviously Andrei Vasilevsky kind of held down the fort early, but the way that they kind of grew into that game, I felt really good about their performance against Utah. What did you think?
Yeah, I think, I hate to get put the cart in front of the horse, but, more and more, I think you watch this team and they do remind you of, those 2021, 22 teams. And they don't, they pile up points and then they don't let their mistakes linger. And I think, let's face it, Columbus is just one of those teams, man. They're a bad matchup for them. They are want to run. That building is a little bit weird to play in with the cannon and everything. And, you can get lost in a track meet with them. And that's obviously not the way that the Lightning know from getting the points the way they've gotten them, is that's not the way that they win games. And so, I really looked at that as a one-off, but then to see them come back and play so tight defensively. And again, we hear Vasi talk about all the time is, that he's great. He feels more comfortable when he's getting more shots, right? Like he almost hates it when he goes, 10 minutes without facing a shot. He feels rusty almost, he wants to be a part of the action. So, let him see the puck and, just let him do his thing. So, where they have like 28, 30 shots or something like that, Utah did. So, and obviously that's a great team. And, they got a little loose on a couple of plays, but when I think that the premise has always been when you limit those opportunities, that guy's going to be there to bail you out. He was in a couple spots, especially with that Keller breakaway. So, and again, like I've said this from day one with this team, is the backbone of it is 88. And when he's feeling it, like this team is just kind of feels what's the word? You stand a little taller, right? When you're seeing him back there making those kind of saves. So, and again, like that even that kind of reminds you back of 2020 to 22 is that, this team is, Vasi's dialed in. I think they've done a really good job of preserving him physically, and I think that's been something that may be different than previous years in terms of, making sure that he's not overextending himself. I think that's a big part of Vasi's maturity too, and buying in on that. And, again, that they don't let this stuff linger. They do have a turn the page mentality. I know it's cliche, but that's a good team. And I thought that was a really impressive win for them against a team that was rolling. What were they? They were like 8-1
5
in
in a row. Yeah, 8-1-1 and 5 in a row. Yep.
Yeah, so that was a team that was rolling, coming in here with a lot of confidence. Those are dangerous teams, and especially ones that you don't see that much. So, and that's a team I've said it since last year. That's a team that I think is they make the playoffs. They're a dangerous team to play. So, especially if their goaltending holds up. So, more and more as we go along here, and obviously I think the big test moving forward is how they're able to duplicate this once you have this big break, and once you have this big break in which essentially half of your team is playing in the Olympics that don't really get a break. So I think that's really going to be the biggest question coming in down the stretch, and because they're so dialed in right now and they're playing such good, responsible hockey that you can't help but just think about, be reminded of some of those teams that we saw a few years back.
Do you think the Lightning have an advantage over other teams in the NHL because they have two of their most important players, Andrei Vasilevsky and Nikita Kucherov, not participating in the Olympics? Because you look at the majority of the players at the top of the stat sheet, the McDavids, the McKinnons, the Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel, and all these different guys, they're all going to be playing in the Olympics there in Milan. But I'd argue that two of the best, 10, 15 players in the league aren't even going to be playing in the Olympics, and they're both here with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Can that benefit them as the season goes on? Can they really utilize these next couple of weeks and really help them? Will that help them for the long run?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, I said this before with you, is that I think that they've learned the past couple of years that you have to be at a certain physical condition that lasts the playoffs. And especially a team like this one, which, some of those guys, there's not a lot of guys from this team on this team still from 2022 and before, but those guys have that mileage. They have that thread on the tires, right? So, it's even more important with that. Now, to answer your question, let's face it, Cooch is going to take the weekend off and he's going to be back at Brandon. I don't expect him to necessarily take that much time off, but But for Vasi, I think it's huge. And just for both of those guys, you're not taking the hits. You're not, you're not going through the skates. You're not traveling on the road. You're not doing all that stuff. And, I don't know what it's like to play in the Olympics, but just, I think that there's even if you only play 3 games, right? Like, I do think that there is just this pressure, stress level that you're going to have to deal with as players as athletes competing in the Olympics that probably goes a little bit unnoted in terms of, what kind of stress that puts on your body.
It's not a vacation. It's not a vacation.
Right. It's not a break by any means, and all of them are excited. And we heard Victor talk about how it's really for him, the last kind of feather in his cap for it, the way he views it. And that's true, and so guys like that, but there's no doubt that there's an added stress level in competing. So I think it will benefit, especially the goaltender. I think, Vasi wants to play 60 some games a year, every year. And he's going to be out there for 60 minutes a night in the playoffs. And if you can get him those, whatever it is for, those weeks over the break to give him that rest, that's going to benefit him. And even when they come back, I think they come back from the team comes back to start skating on the 18th. So you get a couple weeks there. And even then, I wouldn't expect Vasi to be full go practicing in every practice that they have. So I do think that'll benefit both of them because, again, you want to be, everyone says it, you want to be in your best condition at playing. You want to be playing your best at the right time, but you also want to be feeling your best at the right time. I think this year that there's been little things that they've done as a team and as a group to kind of have that in the back of their mind going into March and April and beyond.
Ed, you've done such a great job of covering this stadium series. You've been over there pretty much, every day or every other day. I mean, now that we're getting closer, I mean, you've been all over this story. And everybody, again, go to TampaBay.com and subscribe to the Tampa Bay Times today. What's the next couple of days looking like for you? And what excites you the most about this game on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, this has been great to cover. Everybody, those who've been close to me have joked around this in my Super Bowl. But I just think that, when you kind of have covered this team and how much it's meant to, the people inside this building, but also the fan base, and the fans being able to kind of enjoy this thing. We were in Nashville and we saw how great that was. I mean, to me, Nashville is probably, up until, maybe Sunday is one of the highlights of my career being able to cover something like that. It was awesome. And again, the thing is, you never know when it's going to come back. I think that, this whole tent idea has opened up a whole new world of options because, if we had gotten rain, we get rain on Saturday, that would have been bad, but the tent's there. In games in past in Dallas and Nashville, they've had rain and they've had problems with it. So this creates a little bit added layer of protection. And I think this will allow a lot more games in the Sun Belt without the league having to worry about it. Having said that, we don't know whether a game's coming back here in the near future. I honestly think what's going to happen, especially if these two teams, if them or the Panthers continue this domination of the East, is it's going to be in 5 years a Panthers Lightning game at Camping World Stadium in Orlando or something like that. To get something a little bit different going. So, but that's not. I haven't heard anything specifically about that. But in terms of looking of what
makes sense, though, Butter. Makes sense.
Yeah. But in terms of what I'm looking forward to, it's just the spectacle of all this. There's just little details to it. I mean, you saw it in Nashville. It's the walk from the tunnels. Just everything, and just the one thing that I think, and I was asking my buddy cop Rick Stroud about this because I forgot from when I covered the Bucks is that press box in Recher doesn't the windows don't open up really when they have in the side where the press box is in the corner there. So we're not going to really be able to hear it, which is going to you're going to have to go outside to kind of feel that. But just 65,000 fans who, for most of them, Lightning fans who have never been able to experience anything like that. I think that's really the coolest part of this. And I'm I've obviously bought in. I think that our numbers kind of showed that there's a huge interest in this from day one. I think in October I wrote a story about the logo unveiling and it got tons of hits. So it's people have been super excited about it from everything we've seen. And the fact that the day's coming in a few days is it's just as Victor Hedman always says, super exciting. So but yeah, and I think Victor actually, whether he plays or not, I would be really shocked if he did play. I do remember in Miami for the Winter Classic, they brought out the guys, the injured players like Kachuk and Barkov, stuff like that, and stuff. So I think Victor will still be a part of it in some way. Like you said, maybe he does skate in warm ups and stuff like that. But I think it's just one of those things that I think we're all going to kind of remember and just kind of, But I think one thing that I'm going to be writing in my beat column for Sunday is just to make sure you soak it in, because you waited this long for it and you just don't know, you don't know when he ever comes. It's like championship teams, right? Like you want to soak them in because you never know when you're going to get back. So, and sometimes this fan base, let's admit it, has been a little spoiled because of the success of this team, because of back-to-back cups, because of three straight, Stanley Cup finals.
Ed, before I let you go, what are can you give us any specifics on what the story is going to look like from you over the next couple of days?
Yeah, I think I talked about last week a little bit. We got on game day, we got a really cool story on just like the experiences that some of these players have had, and how playing outside has really kind of conjures up memories of their childhood in a lot of ways. From Andrei Vasilevsky, I just talked to Dominic James, who some of these things you just get just cold talking to a guy, and Dom's a great kid. Yeah, I know you've talked to him a lot, and I was like, hey man, have you ever played an outdoor game? And he told me that he was playing for the Little Caesars 14 U's before at Comerica Park before the Red Wings played in a Winter Classic game. So it's imagine that, as a 14-year-old kid, 14-year-old kid, playing with your youth team in Detroit, being able to play in a basically in a stadium series setting, So, but tons of guys have had these great stories. Yanni Gord has one about how, growing up, his family would take care of the neighborhood rink outside, and he basically took care of it. He was a guy who was shoveling the snow. He was a guy who was flooding the rink. So we probably are. I know we're all not Tampa natives, but those of us who've been here a long time kind of get spoiled, not thinking about some of these stories. So being able to bring some of those stories will be cool. And then just again, talking about the tent, we talked about this a little bit. It's just kind of looking forward into what some of these innovations and this innovation specifically from this game could lead to, and even a little bit about where these outdoor games are going too. One thing, I mean, I talked to the league about this. I talked to them yesterday about it. It's kind of listen, you guys aren't making money off of this, right? We look at all this stuff, and there's no way you guys are making money. And there's just been a little bit. Hold on, I got a cart going by. I just want to stop because it's an important point. But that there has been a little bit different mindset here in terms of what's important, and a part of it is trying to figure out how to get games in markets that deserve them. And this is a part of it. I mean, obviously, and now when you look at it, Utah's getting Winter Classic next year. I think at that point, pretty much every market, for the most part, would have gotten one. But being able to kind of, the one thing about the league, and this is an example of it, this game is dreaming big, and I think they've done that. And, moving forward, it's going to keep going.
It's a beautiful thing. Menace to Society 3140 says Jey Uso is the real Uso. I don't know. The last real Uso to me. The last real Uso is our guy Eduardo Ed Encina. Eduardo, I love it. Haven't seen y'all rock the jackets too often. Perfect for Sunday though. Go ahead. What'd you say?
I was gonna say I don't want anyone to think I'm Samoan though. I'm not Samoan. I'm not trying to claim I'm Samoan. I'm not like Jeff Cobb.
Oh wow, Jeff Cobb. He's not Jeff Cobb anymore. He's JC Mateo. That's how it rolls. Do you want to give us your Royal Rumble prediction, or you want to say that in case you join us tomorrow?
I'll probably let me give it to you now. I think I've always said.
That's both of us.
I've always said I thought it was going to be Reigns, and I think I still think it's going to be. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't got anything really hardcore analysis for you. I just think.
You want to give me your prediction today or tomorrow? I'll give it to you today. My prediction is I don't know.
I'm just missing my tribal chief.
That's the way it goes. He is the last real Uso, the tribal chief, the one and only Ed Encina, Eddie in the Yard. Follow him on all social media platforms, and of course, subscribe to the Tampa Bay Times today. This is the time of year you really want to make sure that you're subscribing to the Tampa Bay Times. Incredible stories coming out this weekend about our stadium series. Ed, you're the man. I appreciate it, brother. I'll see you tomorrow, Saturday. I'll see you this weekend, no matter what. Thanks, pal.
All right, buddy. See you later.
See you, pal. The great Ed Encina. Unbelievable, man. We are here at Benchmark International Arena. Ed is he's all over it, man. And we are super excited for this weekend. And we're always super excited to have a chat with this gentleman right here, our good pal, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. You're going out of town. You won't be at the game this weekend, right, my friend?
I know. Yeah, I'm going to Orlando. I'm going to a tennis tournament.
Oh, are you playing or?
Yeah, I'm playing.
Oh, nice, man. Nice. Okay. How many tournaments do you play a year?
It depends if we qualify. So I play USDA, and it's basically local leagues. And if you win your local, then you move on to sectionals in Orlando at the USDA National Campus.
Nice, man. Singles or doubles?
I play doubles. I gave up singles years ago. My knees won't take it.
I was going to say run baseline, right, line to line there, Doc. Isn't all as cracked up to be, is it? Speaking of knees, I wanted to start off the top with this because I sent you yesterday. I have a 13-year-old on my team, Jack Lehman. He's got a growth plate issue. Now he has a stress fracture in his left knee. His ortho said to completely rest for 3 weeks, and then they'll reassess. We've talked about this with shoulders and arms, but unfortunately, and this kid's pretty active, but nothing like outrageous, but he plays basketball too. It's kind of crazy. I didn't hear these as much when I was growing up 20, 25 years ago, but we're hearing that a lot more now, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I mean, and the knee is very common. There's quite a few growth plates around the knee, not just on the bone, but there's some growth plates that are also attached to tendons. So at your kneecap and at the tibia, the big bone on your lower leg. And sometimes the tension of the tendon can pull some of those growth plates. So I don't know if he's having one of those. It's called apophysis, which is a growth plate attached to a tendon. If he's having one of those, Osgood-Schlatters disease is a very common one. But the problem is eventually the bone starts separating and starts detaching, and there's a stress injury there. And usually rest is the best thing for it, just to allow the bone to heal up. Not as common to have stress fractures on the actual plates that grow on the bone, on the vertical surface of the bone itself. Those are rarer. The more common ones are the ones near the tendons and the muscles. So that's probably what he's dealing with, and then it's just going to be a matter of rest. We see it more commonly these days, again, because of the specialization of kids in sports. They specialize in sports very early. They're constantly putting the same stress on the bone, the same stress on the joints. So eventually things are going to break down. Whether as we were growing up, we played multiple sports.
Right.
We had a main sport, but we usually played other things, which would lead to different stresses and different things that were not as on top of the injury over time and time again. So these kids these days, they play usually just one sport all year long, and that usually leads to those chronic injuries.
And I know it's tough not to know without knowing the exact injury, but this is a kid that just started playing basketball too. He was a baseball guy, but just started playing basketball. And some of these injuries on the hard court, right, Doc? I mean, is this one of those things that kind of coincides with, because one thing that I've learned over the years is that hard court is very unforgiving, man. It's one thing to fall down on a baseball field on the dirt or the grass, but basketball is a completely different animal, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is also the stress that comes with it. So basketball, a lot of jumping, a lot of cutting, a lot of explosive motions, running. So all the explosive movement with the jumping especially creates a lot of stress around the knee. And then again, the muscles are attached to some of these growth plates, the tendons. So they start pulling and tugging on those growth plates, and they start shifting and moving. And eventually you just got to give it rest for them to heal up. There's some a little more rare conditions that can happen inside the knee. It's called osteochondritis dissecans, and that's usually another chronic overuse injury on the knee, which can happen usually with runners or jumpers. But I don't think that would be a 3-week layoff. That's usually more of a long-term layoff. You're looking more at months for that kind of injury to heal. So when you're looking at a 3-week rest period, I'm thinking more is one of those apophysitis like Osgood-Schlatters disease that's causing the issue.
We were watching the NFL last weekend to see the Broncos, or 2 weeks ago, Broncos being able to win, but Bo Nix getting that injury, and then just kind of a weird back and forth with his coach for Sean Payton, and talking about like just the history there. What did you get when I brought up that injury with Bo Nix? What are some of the things that stood out to you about the injury, because now it comes, he's saying yesterday or today, oh yeah, I should be okay in 4 to 6 weeks. And it looked like he was out for, it's kind of crazy how that happened, because he's already had surgery to repair that fracture.
The thing is, it's hard to tell when the injury happened in the game. I'm thinking it had to happen towards the end of the game, because he did finish the game. He's standing there at the end of the interview. He runs into the tunnel right after the interviews, after post game. So you're thinking, how bad was his injury? I mean, he was still walking, running, and doing everything. He was on it. Now it was a fractured ankle. He did have surgery on it. He's expected to be out about 12 weeks. So I'm thinking, again, there was some hardware placed in there, whether it was a fibula, the small bone, or the tibia. More than likely it's the fibula, which is a small bone. That's the one that would typically break easier. If it's what we call a malleolar fracture, which is kind of the bony part at the bottom of the ankle, those usually don't require surgery. So I'm thinking he had more of a fibular fracture, maybe higher up than where the ankle joint is at, and created maybe a little bit of a high ankle type injury. So that needs to be fixed. So because the ankle at that point becomes unstable. So having now a plate and screws, we've talked about this before. It's got to take time for heal. It's got to take time for the bone to heal up and the hardware to get set. So I think that's what we're looking more at, the 3-month mark before he's able to come back to practice. So he should be out at least 12 weeks is what they're expecting. This is the third time he's broken the ankle. So I don't know if this is a recurrence of the old injury. And now they decided, go ahead, let's just put some hardware in there because this bone keeps breaking around the same spot. It's the first time he breaks it in the NFL. He had 2 breaks in college. So it is the same ankle, so I think it's one of those things. It could be a recurrence of the same injury, and they just decided to be a little more aggressive this time to prevent it from happening again.
Doc, from your experience in working with teams, what is that like as far as the dissemination of the information about players? Because I think one of the things, outside of the actual injury is, Bo Nix seemed a little perturbed that Sean Payton was a little bit more open with the information and saying it might have to do with some of his past. From your experience in being around different sports, it seems like that was kind of like it touched a soft spot for Bo Nix. From what you've seen, what is that like, that messaging from the coach and the player and the organization? Usually I think when everything is working and everybody's on the same page, the message should be pretty similar, right? Coming out from the organization.
Yeah. I mean, and there has to be some sort of agreement beforehand. I mean, and the league has rules regarding the disclosure of injuries, and teams have rules. So you just got to be on the same page. So the coach, the physician, the player all have to be in the same page regarding what are the things that we can discuss when it comes to certain injuries or certain injured players. There may be some players that don't like anything about the injuries disclosed, and you just got to be vague about it. Maybe the teams like to be vague about it because they don't want a player to be targeted at a certain area because of the injury that they have. So it's better to not put all the information out there. But there has to be some sort of agreement as to what information gets put out there, because we know there's rules and regulations. There are HIPAA regulations regarding the disclosure of personal health information. So there has to be some sort of a agreement, some sort of a consent sign among all parties that says these are the things that we're able to discuss and up to these details. If the player wants to give further details, because the player is the patient, so the patient can be the one giving out a little more detailed information. Maybe the team and the coach can give a little more general information about what the type of injury it is, but not the actual details of the injury. So it may be that maybe there wasn't a clear discussion as to how are we going to approach the press about this type of injury.
Yeah, no doubt about it. A huge UFC card last weekend, UFC 324, and Rose Namajunas is dealing with some stuff now as far as her eyes go, and this has become more and more prevalent over the last couple of years. Tom Aspinall, a heavyweight, he had a bow out of his match with the eye injury, and he's still dealing with it right now. What do we know about Rose Namajunas? Because this is not something that it seems like it's going away.
So she was evidently poked in the eye several times. One of those pokes actually caused a cut or a laceration on the lower lid, and that laceration extended to the tear duct. So the tear duct is located right inside your eyelid, right by your nose, and the tear duct drains basically into your nose. So your eyes are constantly producing water, and that water basically drains down that tear duct into the nose. So that has to be fixed, Otherwise, your eye's constantly going to tear up without the drainage, the natural drainage.
Mhm.
So she had to have surgery, and basically what the surgery entails is to put a little tube, plastic tube, in that place where the tube naturally is at. So now that the body can form a new tube around the artificial tube that was placed in. Once that natural tube is formed, then you remove the artificial tube, because you got to recreate basically the
Right.
drainage process.
Wow.
So she's going to be out at least 3 months, because that tube has to remain there for 3 months for things to rebuild themselves. During that time, she has to you have to give her medications to keep her from sneezing, keep her from blowing her
Oh.
nose, because any sneezing or any blowing of your nose can actually shift or move the tube out, and then you got to replace it again. So you cannot sneeze and you cannot blow your nose during that period of time. And then you cannot have any contact either. So she's pretty much out of the ring for those 3 months of recovery, because you cannot have any contact or anything that will touch or hit your eye. I mean, because she could do some training in the gym, she could do some stuff as far as weights and maybe some shadow boxing and things like that, and maybe heavy bag. But she cannot be doing anything where she can get hit in the eye again while this recovery is going on. So she's gonna miss at least 3 months, and then maybe even longer, just to recover and get back into shape.
A canalicular laceration, is that the right way to say
That's
it?
what it is. That's the
there
medical
you go.
term from it. Is a canalicular. That canalicular system is your
Yeah.
tear duct draining system. In layman's terms, it's a tear duct laceration.
Look, I'm Doc. I'm doing my homework, man.
Very good.
I'm
Very good.
stepping my game up for you. I wanted to ask you about that too, because you know about combat sports.
Right.
What would you suggest the UFC or MMA does as far as these gloves? Because there are other brands out there where the fingers aren't as exposed, and we know, like, naturally certain fighters, some have the natural boxing stance where their hands are clenched.
Right.
But you have some of these other guys, especially with more of a karate background, where their hands and their palms are open, where you're not allowed to strike with your closed fist. So they're not used to that. And even wrestlers, if that's what your base is, what would you do? How would you change that?
So it's hard, because I mean, a lot of the UFC type MMA fighting is grappling, right? So you got to be able to hold and grab things. So if you put them in a glove where the fingers are either all together or the padding comes all the way through the finger, you're going to lose grip. So you're going to put the grapplers, I think, at a disadvantage. You can't really wear eye protection. So it's not like you can have them, well, let's wear goggles. I mean, goggles are going to be shifted, moving, and goggles can cause even other injuries. They can break your nose, or they can cause lacerations or your orbit. So you can't really put eye protection on. So it's really monitoring it, and maybe I think there's certain fighters that are a little more aggressive with their fingers, and maybe you have to put some either findings or some penalties for eye poking, where you take points away or disqualify somebody for creating an eye injury because of an open hand. But it's a very hard decision to make, because the gloves that they currently use, they're there, one, that provide enough padding so you don't usually break your hand or have an issue or problems when you're using a closed fist. But you got to have an advantage to be able to open your hand and grab your opponent to do the grappling and everything else that they do. Don't know how these new gloves can affect the grappling, or what the studies have been done on them regarding do they minimize the eye poking but don't affect the grappling techniques. That's the balance you got to reach. It's something that will minimize the injuries but not affect the sport, or put a certain competitors at a disadvantage.
Doc, what do you think about the other combat sports? Like, I went to a bare knuckle fighting event in Lakeland, and it's just, you're just waiting for somebody to get knocked out. And then slap fighting is a huge thing now. UFC, Zuffa,
Right.
I mean, UFC brought that under their banner, and they talk about how it's safer than this and safer than that. And I said, okay, well, fine. You could say it's safer than something else, but it's, in my opinion, and you're the doctor, in my opinion, it's never a safe thing if you get your lights turned out and you go unconscious. I don't care what anybody says, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
what is your take on that? And are they doing enough as far as taking precautions for the sports like bare knuckle and the slap fighting?
So I actually was a ringside physician at a bare knuckle fight, and that was quite an experience, because other than a little wrap, there's no other protection. So one, the noise of flesh pounding flesh is a little disturbing. The amount of lacerations and hand injuries that we saw during that bout was more than I had seen in any event that I had been in. We actually had a doctor that was just dedicated to suturing that whole night. And he said he lost count after about 200 stitches. And so it's brutal. The gloves do have some protection towards the lacerations on the face as well as the hands. We did see a number of hand injuries along with that. So bare knuckle is brutal when it comes to head injuries, facial injuries, lacerations, as well as hand injuries. So I do believe that it's better to have some sort of a glove and some sort of protection on. Bare knuckle to me, it's one of those that I'm not a fan, especially after being at that one event. The slap events, I mean, now you've taken all kinds of protections of you protecting your face or moving when you see the blow coming. Now you're just sitting there waiting to get hit. So concussions do happen. I mean, you do get your lights turned out, and brain injuries do happen because of this. So I'm not a fan of it either, because you've taken some of the natural protections that someone can have with either their hands or movement away up to. I'm supposed to taking a full blow, taking a glancing blow. That's all taken away because I just got to sit there and take a full slap. And I don't care if it's a closed fist or an open hand, the impact is the same. And it can be just as detrimental to the brain or even the jaw. I mean, you can break someone's jaw with one of those slaps.
We see some of those bigger dudes in the heavyweight division. They're over 2-something, close to 300 pounds, and those big gorilla paws that they have on, man, those things are freaking huge, man. It is nuts. This one's a personal one for me because me being a big Manchester United fan, I'm actually wearing my sweatshirt today. Patrick Dorgu is a young man that's really stepped into his own and played a lot better, and now he's going to be out for a while. What do we know about his injury, Doc?
Well, I was a Man United fan too, but then my son has grown up to be an Arsenal fan, so I was watching that game as an Arsenal fan.
Oh, Doc. No, the reason why I wore this is because the head of the PR of the Lightning is an Arsenal fan, and JJ Moser's a big United fan, so that's why I wore it. That's great.
Yeah, so I transitioned from being a Man United fan to an Arsenal fan to support my son. So I was watching the game, and you could tell that he pulled it a few steps before he went down. He went and grabbed for it. So he pulled his hamstring. Initially, it was thought that it wasn't a bad injury because he did walk off the field. He did join the players in celebration after the game, and he was walking around, no significant issues. But then he had an MRI done, and the MRI shows that he had a pretty severe injury to the hamstring. So he's suspected to be out about 10 weeks. So with that amount of time being out, I'm thinking there may be some tendon involvement or some significant tearing of the muscle, because on average, most hamstring injuries is about a 2 to 4 week recovery. So him being out 10 weeks, I think it's either a tendon involvement or a significant tear of the muscle, and they got to give it time for it to heal up. On average, most people with a hamstring injury is about 18 to 23 days to recover. So his is a lot longer than that. So he's got a pretty significant injury to that hamstring.
Doc, I wanted to ask you about the injury to Connor Bradley. He hurt his knee really bad, Liverpool and Arsenal a couple of weeks ago. And what the sad part was is that Gabriel Martinelli from Arsenal was kind of like pushing him off the pitch because he thought he was milking it at the end of the game.
Right.
And it was into stoppage time, in extra time. And like we see flopping it, guys kind of milking it a lot, right? But it's almost like the boy who cried wolf. It's when guys are really hurt, and that's my point when I spoke about it on the show the next day. I go, I know it stinks and it looks bad, but when you have guys that are always like, oh, now all of a sudden you have a cramp, like what, guys only have cramps when they're losing at the end of the game, like it's kind of dangerous too, right? That, I mean, it's flopping, but when these guys are acting like they're injured and they're not, and then it really is injured, like it's something that I think it's one of the hardest things to bring over new fans, because they look at that and they go, wow, that guy looks like he just got shot with a cannon. And then 10 seconds later, he's running up and down the pitch.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the one part of the game of soccer that I don't like, is the flopping and how players milk something that never happened. Sometimes you see a player go down, grabbing their face, and you look at the replays like they were nowhere near your face. And then it's hard for the referee, because the referee could be 10 yards away, 15 yards away, and didn't see it. So I don't know if there's some sort of way of penalizing players for flopping, and I mean they do that for people that flop in the box trying to get a penalty. But with Dorgu, I mean, when you watched it live, you went, "Oh, he's just faking it," because that's usually what players do. Man United had just gone up; they're up 3-2, so he's just trying to burn time. But when you watch it on the replay, it was 2 steps before he went down that he ran and grabbed for the hamstring. The next step he's already hurt, and then he just went to ground. So once you watch it on the replay, you go, no, he's really hurt. But because there are so many players that flop, the immediate reaction is, oh my gosh, he's just buying time. He's just wasting time. And I think that's one of the black eyes of soccer, is just how these guys just flop and fake getting hit just to try to get a free kick or try to get a penalty, or just to burn time so the clock continues ticking. I don't know if there's a great solution for that other than giving cards to players or having, I mean, I hate VAR, but having VAR take a look at these injuries maybe after the game. So maybe there's fines after the games for players that flop. So maybe not something in game, but maybe finding players after games. That way, hopefully discourages them from doing it. But I think it's really hard to do something in game because things are happening so fast. And as much as I hate VAR, I don't want VAR involved in more game decisions and delaying things even more.
My good buddy Steve from up in North Carolina says the NBA is getting bad for floppers too. It's tough to watch when these guys are falling over the place, isn't it, Doc?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up watching basketball in the 70s and the 80s. And I mean, especially in playoff time, I mean, there was the no layup rule. People were getting hit. I mean, contact is part of basketball. And now you see these guys flopping also, whether it's an offensive foul or when they're shooting, they stick their legs out and the guy just glances their leg and down. I mean, it's one of the reasons I would tell you I don't watch the NBA much anymore, because it's not the kind of basketball that I'm accustomed to watching. And I'd rather watch a little bit of a college game than watch the NBA anymore. They lost me as a fan.
What about Evan Mobley? I know obviously he's one of the big names in the NBA, great player for the Cavs. What do you know about his injury and if he's going to be out for a while?
So he suffered a calf strain on the 26th in the game against the Magic. This was confirmed with an MRI. It doesn't seem to be a bad sprain. He's expected to be out 1 to 3 weeks. So, but it's his second calf strain of the season. So he actually had injured this back in December, missed 5 games because of that injury. And this is a recurrence of that injury. So he maybe again miss maybe a couple of weeks and then be back. I think that because it is a recurrence, they're going to be a little more careful in his return to play and his comeback from this time injury. So I would say maybe 3 to 4 weeks before he comes out is reasonable.
Doc, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you about LeBron James. He was there in Cleveland last night, and it's just when you see a guy that's in his 40s playing at that level, right now, of course, he's not the, like the LeBron in his prime, but when you see LeBron, when you see Kevin Durant, when you saw Tom Brady, I mean, how magnificent is that to be able to see these guys be able to perform at that age when, I'm 40 and I feel it after playing softball last night and coaching. I felt it this morning, Doc. I mean, it truly is. It's a testament to those guys of how much they take care of their bodies. And LeBron's been famous for, spending $1 million a year on his body. Like, you have to do that if you're performing at a high level, especially at this age, right, Doc?
Yeah, no, it's impressive. I mean, Brady did the same thing. So I think when you take care of your body adequately and you listen to your body and put the right nutrition into your body and do the right exercise, the right training. I mean, and these guys, let's say also, they have all the resources in the world to help them maintain that physique, that stamina, decrease the injury rate. So they have access to a lot of things that will help them. But so do a lot of the other guys, right? And they don't have that longevity. So I think genetics may also play a factor into it. I think there are certain players that have genetics built into it. They're going to have that longevity. Also, I think there are players that get lucky through their career also, and they'll get injured as often or as frequent. So that provides some longevity to it. But I think it's more of a testament to their lifestyle, to their diet, to their exercise routine, to their nutrition, and everything that they do to help maintain that level of performance. And to me, the most impressive thing of it all is that the level of performance, even though you would say, yeah, it declines over time because it does for everybody, their decline over time is very flat. It's not like
It's a
they
slow
fall off a
decline.
cliff.
Yeah.
It's a very slow decline.
Right.
And to me, I mean, kudos to all of them, to everything that they do, because it lets you know what the wonders are of the human body and how
Mhm.
great the human body can be when you take care of it.
Doc, real quick, what do you think of the? I see a lot of people now doing the sauna and the cold plunge at home.
Right.
They're trying to figure out a way to be able to do this. And I heard something. It was like 15 minutes in the sauna, 3 minutes in the cold plunge. I mean, there's always new things coming out there. What do you like or dislike about that?
No, there's a lot of studies when it comes to cold therapy and heat therapy, when it comes to recovery and decreasing lactic acid and decreasing metabolites and in your body that are detrimental. And the cold weather basically slows the metabolism down and helps break down a lot of that lactic acid and helps in the recovery. And then in the heat, you have basically increased blood flow. So the heat then brings in the increased blood flow and more nutrition down to the muscles and the tissues. So now it improves healing. So there is a science to it when it comes to cold and hot therapy to it. I mean, cold, you don't want to do it for too long because it becomes detrimental and tissue damaging. So that's why the cold plunge is usually a small amount of time, because you don't want to become hypothermic. That becomes detrimental. So it's just a quick shock to the body, just to burn a lot of those bad chemicals and allow the body a little bit of healing. And then the sauna time is now increasing blood flow. So all that heat, again, you sweat a lot of these toxic metabolites, but then it's also improving blood flow by opening up all the capillary beds.
Love that. Love that. Doc, you are the best. The Ever Health Injury Report with our good friend, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. Doc, I want to hear how you did, man. Text me this weekend. Let me know how you did. I'm going to be thinking. I'm going to be thinking about you this weekend, buddy. We're not just going to be focused on the Lightning on Sunday. We're going to be focused on you kicking butt out there in Orlando. I wish you were going to be at the Lightning game, but if you're going to be doing something like that, I think it's a good reason to miss. So best of luck. Bring home the gold. Bring home first place, buddy. And we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks, buddy.
That was good. Have a good one.
All right, buddy. The great Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. That's awesome, man. I can't wait. We're like, again, I talk so much about Doc joining us on the show, and I have people that bring it up to me. They're like, bro, that is amazing, the discussions that we have. And just think about it. We do talk about the NFL stuff. We do talk about some of the injuries, but listening to the show today, the cold and the hot plunge, the bare knuckle stuff, the slap fighting, the UFC with Rose Namajunas and dealing with her injury. And then, with our guy, Jack Lehman, unfortunately dealing with his stress fracture in his knee. That's the kind of stuff that we talk about on our injury report with Dr. Rodriguez. Unbelievable. I'm blown away every single time that we talk with Doc. You're the man, Doc. You're the man, buddy. I love you. It's just so great. Again, a big topic of conversation over these last couple of weeks of, growing your brand. And I wanted to, somebody reached out to me on YouTube and they said, part of the reason why, because remember the video that I posted last week? It's sad how far sports media has fallen. Somebody wrote to me, it's all about clicks and engagement. It's unfortunate. Social media drives this kind of content. Please don't take this the wrong way, Jay, but that's why your channels don't have more views. You have been on radio for a long time in a decent-sized market. You give great analysis and perspective, but you don't exaggerate. You are being penalized for doing a great job. Frankly, it's not fair, but that's life. Love your content, bud. Been following you for a long time. Keep up the great work, and can't wait to hear you on the radio again. I can't tell you how appreciative I am for that feedback. Redwork 86. That's me, man. That's me. And I really don't care that I have not grown more. I can't worry about things that I have no control over. But I'm not just going to be a clickbait guy. I'm not going to rage bait. I'm not just going to say outrageous things just to piss people off to get more followers and more subscribers. It's just, that seems so disingenuous that I just don't want to be a part of that. That's just not me. And if that means that I have to grow at a different pace, at a slower pace, then just so be it. I would rather have informative, entertaining, educational discussions like we just had with Dr. Rodriguez, rather than me pulling shit out of my ass that doesn't make sense just to piss you off. Let's turn on the Jay Recher podcast today so we can tell this guy how much he sucks. Like, all right. I don't know. That's just not me. That's not why I'm doing this. And again, if that stunts my growth a little bit and causes me to not grow as fast as other people, then so be it. I'm just going to be me because that's the only person I know how to be. Role, great content like always. Another milestone in sports entertainment. DT, great stuff as always. Rage baiting is so hot right now. I'm with you, buddy. A big shout out to EverHealth. EverHealth.org, 17 different locations in Pinellas County. Dr. Rodriguez, again, you want to be involved with people like that. He is the man, the freaking man. Go to EverHealth, everhealth.org, all the different conversations. Hold on one second. Today, believe who you want to believe. Okay, we're gonna talk about this. Hold on, guys. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Okay, so yes, again, EverHealth, one of our main partners here on the program, everhealth.org, 17 different locations in Pinellas County. They have a sliding scale for the uninsured. They take any kinds of insurance. They're the best, man. And the EverHealth Institute, again, I say this all the time, but I can't stress it enough. If you're looking for a change in your job and a change in your career and you want to work in the medical field, EverHealth is where it's at. The EverHealth Institute is very similar to the broadcasting school that I went to, that hands-on training that set me on the right path to find a career that I love. EverHealth, everhealth.org. Go check out their website. You will not be sorry. And then, of course, Honest Hammer, Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and commercial needs. 813-244-0956. You got to follow him on social media because my guy Hammer is all over it. He really is. I mean, just look. I was looking at one of the bathrooms today, the master bathroom. Beautiful. And one day I want to be able to get to a point where that I have a plot of land and I want to be able to build my own custom home. And you know that there's only one person that I'm going to, and that's my guy Russ, the Hammer from Honest Hammer Custom Builders. This is the guy that you want to support. I say this all the time, and the importance of supporting local, supporting Pewter Report and Joe Bucks fan and Lightning Insider and the Tampa Bay Times and EverHealth and Honest Hammer Custom Builders. Russ is a guy that has been with us from the beginning, and I'm just so proud to be able to have his logo up here for all your residential and commercial needs. He's a Team Tampa Bay guy, a USF grad. He cares about our community. He does. Support local, support my guy. Look at, he's right here. This is exactly why Ever and myself are proud to put our logos in your corner, Jay. You're the man, buddy. And again, the way that you help us supporting local, supporting them. So if you're bathroom, kitchen renovations, you're looking, I don't know, and you want to be able to trust somebody. I know, man, I've heard those scary stories of people, and you're like, oh, I get this guy 15 grand, and then I never heard from him again. You want to be able to trust the people that are working on your home. It's not just your house, it's your home. Honest Hammer. You got honest in the name. You better be honest, baby. Of course. I trust them, and you should too. Okay, so let's talk about this news that we've just seen on social media here. And this is from about 10:23 this morning. And Tony Pauline, who's been covering this game for a very long time, has said, those I've spoken with over the past week believe it's less than 50-50 the veteran wideout re-signs with Tampa, and that his career with the Buccaneers is likely finished. He'd like to go to a contender and win another title. Now, this is probably just conversation that's going on in Mobile around the Senior Bowl. Again, I would implore anybody that believes something like this to be very patient. I know it's tough in the world that we live in now, but I'm looking at a few people here in the Bay Area, right? If we're not talking about the national guys, right? If we're not talking about the Schefters and the Peliceros and guys like that. We know about their relationships and the way that they're able to attain this information through back channels and agents and things like that. But I always wait for verification from our locals, right? If it's a baseball thing for the Rays, I'm waiting for Top King, right? If it's hockey, I'm waiting for Encina. If it's something in the college ranks, I'm waiting for Joey Knight, and for football, because it's so popular and there's so many people that cover it. We're lucky that we have a multitude of people here in the Bay Area that have their ears, like they're just plugged in, right? They understand what's going on. And I wait for guys like Rick Stroud. I wait for guys like Greg Allman. I wait for guys like Scott Reynolds. I wait for the Ira Kaufmans of the world. I wait for those guys to be able to verify something like this, because it is something that is franchise altering, because it would be a big shift from a guy that has plied his trade here for a very long time. And he has become synonymous, not just with the Buccaneers, but also the Tampa Bay community. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a Ring of Honor member. He is a guy that's a Super Bowl champion, and we love Mike Evans here in the Tampa Bay area. So until we hear something from an Allman, from a Stroud, from a Reynolds, from a Kaufman, from guys like that, it's still a little bit of a wait and see type of thing. Until I hear it from a Greg Allman, from a Rick Stroud, from a Scott Reynolds, from an Ira Kaufman, I am not going to be one of those people that expects Mike Evans to move on from the Buccaneers this offseason. But with that being said, I've been telling you guys this for the last couple of weeks here on the program. Would I be surprised? No, I wouldn't be surprised. As much as we would love for Mike Evans to be able to finish his career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's not a 100% certainty. Remember, Warren Sapp played for the Raiders. John Lynch played for the Broncos. We would love for every single one of our Buccaneer greats to have one jersey, like we saw with Rondé Barber, like we saw with Derek Brooks. Will Mike Evans follow in the footsteps of those two Buck greats? We don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if he went back to his home state of Texas to finish out his career for a year or two. Would it be surprising if the kid that went to Texas A&M, the kid that was born and raised in Galveston, Texas, went to go play for the Houston Texans and linked up with Nico Collins and CJ Stroud? Wouldn't surprise me at all. Would it surprise me if a kid that grew up in Texas wanted to finish his career wearing the star for the Dallas Cowboys and playing with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb? Wouldn't surprise me either. Do I want that to happen? No. I want Mike to finish his career here. But would I be shocked? Would I be surprised if he went elsewhere? No. But again, I implore everybody out there, be patient. Be patient when it comes to things like this. That is just talk for now. Until I hear it from a Greg, from Rick, from a Ira, from a Scott, from a lot of any other guy here locally, but those are the four guys that I really lean on for a lot of my information. It's still, kind of business as usual when it comes to Mike Evans and the Buccaneers. And remember, a couple of years ago, there was a chance that Mike was going to move on. And it was actually his wife, Ashley, that was really the voice for him and the person that he could rely on. And they just spoke about him staying. Now, if you're Mike, let's say those comments are true, that he does want a chance to win a championship again. If that is the case, if it turns out that that is the case, then he probably doesn't have too much faith in the Buccaneers then, right? I mean, because you would think when you're talking about routes to the postseason next year, it always starts with a division crown. Nobody plans to make a wild card. But you'd have to think going forward, if the Buccaneers are able to right the ship and rectify what is wrong with this team, they're already making moves in that direction, bringing in Zach Robinson as the OC, bringing in a new special teams coordinator, bringing in some more defensive coaches to help out Todd Bowles. And then hopefully in the draft and in free agency, maybe even via a trade, you can fortify the pass rush and the linebacker spot and maybe the offensive line, giving some depth there. So for Mike at this point in his career, if he is going to sign on with the Buccaneers again, he has to believe in the vision and he has to believe in what the future is going to look like here in the Bay Area. Does he go 1 year at a time? Does he sign a 2 or 3 year deal? We don't know. We know that he is loved and adored here, and they're going to, as long as possible, for him to be able to make that decision. We know that he loves playing with Baker Mayfield. We know that Chris Godwin's his best friend. I think that a guy like Mike Evans would be excited to work under a guy like Zach Robinson, who has NFL experience, who comes from that Sean McVay tree, who really did some good things with Drake London when he was healthy last year. But it's all about priorities. It's all about what's the most important thing for Mike Evans and his family. And when you're at this point of your career, you have that right. You reach a stage in your tenure in the National Football League or whatever professional sport you play where you get to decide, if you're a free agent, where do I want to go? And Mike Evans has earned that. Nobody deserves it. You earn it. And that's what Mike Evans has. He's earned that right. Once again, I hope he stays in Tampa Bay, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went somewhere else. And I know it's going to be a very tough for people to leave, because if I would have told you that 2 years ago that Mike Evans and Steven Stamkos would be playing in a different uniform and wouldn't finish their careers in Tampa Bay, I think a lot of people would be very, very upset with that. I mean, this is the greatest offensive player in Tampa Bay Buccaneers history. It sucks, man. That's the unfortunate part of the business. And we'll find out. We'll find out what's important for Mike. And I don't think we can hold it against him if he does move on. I mean, it kind of is what it is. Our guy Hammer, I don't know if anyone watched last year, but we literally went insane. How do you fix that in less than 6 months? Can't blame Mike at all for wanting another championship shot. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. But let's say we get to a point in the next couple of weeks where the Bucs sign a Trey Hendrickson, they trade for a Max Crosby, they draft a big time linebacker in the draft. Like, what if they get this roster over these next 2 or 3 months, before, during, and after the draft, and you look at it and you go, all the holes that this team had, Jason Light has gone above and beyond to try to fix them. Then if you're Mike Evans, you look at it and go, maybe I'll stay. Maybe I'll give this thing another shot. Maybe it means a lot to him to play for one team and one team only, like a Derek Jeter. It meant everything for him. Everybody's not like that. We're human beings, man. Everybody's got different priorities and different things that matter to them. And Mike Evans is no different than any of us in that aspect. His bank account looks a little different than all of ours. But as far as being a human being and making the decision that you want, that's Mike for you. I wish him the best, whatever decision that he makes. Guys, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Over 2,100 subscribers. We've been doing really good. We got to keep it rolling, man. We got to keep that thing going. That's the only way we're going to keep this train on the tracks and continue to do this podcast, is if the subscribers go up, if we have more super chats, if we have more sponsors and more partners here on the program. That is the only way that we're going to keep this thing going. We're going to hear from Victor Hedman here in a minute, as well as Lightning forward Dominic James. I got a chance for a one-on-one with DJ and also to be a part of the scrum with Victor Hedman. The audio, of course, is a little low on the heady thing, but it gets a little better as time goes on. I wanted to share that stuff with you because when we're here, we want to take advantage of our time at Benchmark International Arena, especially getting to hear from Victor Hedman. We haven't heard from him in a while. we know how important it is for him to be a part of not just the Stadium Series, but also the Olympics. This means everything to a kid from Sweden. You hear him talking about representing the Three Crowns, and winning the winning the gold medal 20 years ago and what that meant for hockey in that country. Henrik Lundqvist backstopping the Swedes to a gold medal. What about Hetty? Can he be that guy? Can he be one of those leaders for Team Sweden? Let's hear from Victor Hedman. This is what he had to say earlier today after morning skate at Benchmark International Arena. And again, turn your audio all the way up so you can hear from Hetty.
Since I started skating with the team, it's just good mentally, like I said yesterday, and just get better every day.
Were you worried initially with the Olympics like that, or do you guys kind of always have it figured that?
We had it figured, which was good. Just gave me more of a timetable than tried to rehab and rest, but at least now we had a timetable, but there can always be setbacks and whatnot, but luckily for me, it's gone very smooth.
What's the timetable like now? What are sort of the expectations?
I don't know. I'll take it day by day, but that's a question for the training staff. But I feel great, and it's good to be out there and got some good battles in today, so it's good.
What do you say about the decor, Hetty, in your absence, being able to kind of hold down the fort and focus on that end of the ice?
Yeah, they play great. As a 5-man unit too on the ice, and I said yesterday it's been easier to be on the sidelines when the team has been playing so well, but gives you a lot of motivation to work your way back into the lineup and getting closer, and obviously a lot to look forward to these upcoming weeks.
What's going to think about Radish? You noticed the last couple of years in terms of you saw him as a call-up before, and all of a sudden now he's obviously playing such a huge role. Like, where was the kind of the turn for him? What you saw him kind of feel like?
No, obviously the opportunity and consistent opportunity as well. So him and Mo has been playing some unbelievable hockey together. So like I said, it's been fun to watch those guys take big steps, and just gotta make sure that when guys start coming back, that they don't sit back and just keep playing the same way. And we'll do what we can on our part, and to get back in and get into game shape. But those two guys have been playing well. But yes, the decor overall, it's been tremendous. So it's been fun to watch.
How much of a boost is it for you to see a guy like Ryan McDonough get back into the lineup, knowing what he's gone through and knowing him so well?
Yeah, I mean, we've been on the same side the past couple of months, and obviously a lot more fun to get here at 4:00 than get here for game time. So I'm super happy for him, and he's worked so hard to get back. So I'm excited to see what he can bring tonight.
How permitting, how cool would it be if you were able to play Sunday in that environment?
No, that's been a big motivation throughout this whole process, but at the same time, there's a long season still left. So, we'll see what happens in the next coming days. But either way, it has to be a part of that, and seeing the atmosphere, and the weather looks to be super, super good for that game. So, I'm sure the whole city is super excited about that game.
So when you get drafted here and you come to Florida, could you have ever imagined an outdoor game in Florida with 70,000 people?
No, never in my wildest dreams. But yes, goes to show what how hockey has grown in the state, and obviously having a Florida team in the final for 6 straight years was obviously helped too. But seeing the kids in the city of Tampa, playing hockey, and how much it's grown, and obviously. My kids as well want to start playing, but see how many kids are out there and wanting to learn how to skate and play the game. So hockey has become such a big sport in the city, and super proud to be being a part of it for such a long time.
Talking to Nick Lidstrom and Matt Sundin recently, it's going to be 20 years since what they say is probably the biggest moment in Swedish hockey.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be back in Italy, 2 hours from where they did it. How cool is that going to be, and what did that team mean to you?
A lot, and like I said, growing up back home, biggest dream was to play in the Olympics and play for the Three Crowns. So, to get that opportunity here in a few weeks, and back in Italy again, like I said, 20 years into that, means the world for all of us, and we're going to go there and trying to repeat what they did.
And there you go, our guy Victor Hedman. It's just good to hear from him. And there's something that's measured from Hetty being in there, because he knows, like, he's not gonna give anything away. He's not gonna speak out of turn. He's not gonna be in there tonight. I highly doubt that he'll be ready for Sunday. He was out there a long time today. It was one of those skates where it was getting back in the groove skates, and one of the last guys out there hanging with the scratches. Whoa, there goes my light. We got to fix the light. Got to make sure the light. Oh, God. Hold on. We back. Oh, hold on. We back. Oh, my gosh. I haven't done that. Blinded by the lights. We're back. We are back. We're back. All right. So, do I think Hetty plays Sunday? Young swag? No, I don't. I don't think he plays Sunday. However, with that being said, I think he does take part in the pregame warmups. Don't be surprised if Hetty takes part in pregame warmups and then doesn't play in the game, because I think he would want to be out there. He's gonna be out there for practice on Saturday, I'm sure. We still don't know as far as our coverage for Saturday goes. I asked somebody today, are we going to be allowed in the tent for practice? They still don't know. So what are we going to do? We're just going to go to the stadium and just like look at the tent and be like, wow, that's great. I don't know. It's going to be wild. We'll see. We'll see what kind of access that we're going to have inside the tent there. Hopefully we'll be able to be there and take some videos for you guys. But this is why you want to follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Going to be exciting. I'm so jacked up for Sunday. And it's Gasparilla weekend too. So it's one of the best times of the year here in the Bay Area. Dominic James has been a huge part of this team this year. And how about the chemistry with Gensel and also with Gonsalves? I really, really like that line. I got a chance one-on-one with DJ. Here's what he had to say today.
Obviously another big one tonight before the game this weekend. I mean, what was the biggest thing for you guys after the Columbus game to kind of get back to basics to help you in that game against Utah?
Yeah, I think it was just, kind of putting it behind us right away. It kind of got out of hand quick there. As you saw, a lot of things happen that we don't usually do. We didn't do it. A lot of those turnovers we didn't have throughout that whole stretch of wins, So it all happened in one game, and that's kind of how we took it. We got it all out of the way and moved on.
Based on where you are in the lineup, whether it's second line, third line, fourth line, does your game need to change at all based on who you're playing with?
You know what? I think at the base of my game, it's got to be consistent. I got to always be moving my feet, and I got to have good puck management. But, I think, whether you're playing with Gens and Gonzo or, I'm with Paulie or Finner or whatever it might look like, you definitely kind of change your game a little bit, based on, how Gens likes the puck, where he likes it, or where Gonzo likes to hold on to it. You kind of base it off other guys' tendencies and try to help their game out as much as you can, because I think, that's one of my biggest assets is trying to make my line mates better. So, I think definitely there's a little bit of a change, but at the base of it, it's all the same.
What about Jake? I mean, he's a guy, obviously been in this league, winning cups. He's just there's such a simple beauty to his game, right? He does a little bit of everything. What have you learned maybe more firsthand from playing on the line with him, a little bit more consistent?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, he's just so calm out there. Like you said, he's so calm from shift to shift. If we have a D-zone shift or something goes wrong, we're getting back to the bench and, he's saying that next shift or, keep me calm. So I think that's the biggest thing for him. And, playing with him, I tend to hold on to more pucks. So I like that a lot. And I think it makes me a better player and a better ozone player for sure. So, I think just him being so calm out there wears off on me and Gonzo.
Our guy, Dominic James, I just love watching that kid play. He's provided that grit and just that fight that we didn't know that it was missing, I think, until you actually watch the games. To see him, to see Charlie Ardestu, and hopefully Chucky's back sooner rather than later. Again, I can't give those guys enough credit for what they've been able to bring to the table for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Our guy, Richie P, in the house. Not sure you stayed up for the USF game, but I did. And listening to the playback, I heard Jim Lighthole and Joey Johnson say that Wes Enos has 64 threes, Joe Pinion 71. The USF record is 97 from Tyler Harris. All right. I think they could break it, man. We may have 2 players break the record this season. Everybody needs to go to the next game, and I'm with you, buddy. I am with you to be able to watch what Coach Brian Hodgson has. And he's told me, he says, Jay, my goal is to get this team playing their best ball at the end of February and in March. Now, they've got a tough matchup. They're going to Temple. I don't give a crap what Temple's record is in any sport. Temple tough is something that we hear at every level. It's going to be on ESPN2 Saturday night, 8 p.m. there in Philly. This is going to be a dogfight. It really is. Their next home game is going to be Wednesday at 7 p.m. against UTSA. It's Student Appreciation Night, Arthur Jones Night, and then Sunday at noon, February 8th. So Super Bowl Sunday, they're getting a game in. I usually go on Super Bowl Sunday to USF, so I'll probably be there. Salute to Service Day. A couple more home games, and then on the road to Wichita State, Florida Atlantic, back home, Memphis, February 19th. Plenty of games left, guys. Go usfbulls.com. Let's support our guys. Got to keep winning. Give themselves an opportunity to, I don't know, based on what they were able to do out of conference, whether they can get selected if they don't win the American Athletic Conference Championship. But listen, if you have a team like that and you can put up almost 100 points, I have faith that they're going to do some good things. I enjoy watching them play. They get up and down. Isaiah Nelson just continues. And somebody brought this up. I think it was Gio. I'm giving Gio credit, guys. Benny, you might have to tell Gio. I'm giving him credit. Isaiah Nelson is a guy that Gio asked me, he's like, is he in that conversation as one of the better players in recent history for the USF Bulls? And I was like, I don't know. Man, it just seems like every single game this guy plays such a huge part. And you look at the rebounds and you look away and you look back, he's got 9 rebounds. Before you know it, you're like, holy smokes, man. He is everywhere. He does all of those little things. And when you look at Brian Hodgson and what he preaches for his team, it's the TNT stuff. Takes no talent. And when that guy's leading the way, and when your best players are doing that type of stuff, really the sky's the limit. If they're making their threes, and if you remember our conversation with Rich Hollenberg a couple of weeks ago, he spoke about how Arizona does such a great job. And it's Arizona pretty much and everybody else. I think they've really set themselves apart, especially after the win over BYU. But they don't really need threes to be able to be successful. They're just so good at rebounding. They share the basketball. Everybody gets involved. But the crazy thing about college basketball, especially when you get to March, it's March Madness for a reason. You just have to be good on one day. Be better than that other team on one day. And with a team like USF, that is going to be a group where if they make it to the NCAA tournament, nobody, and I'm talking about nobody, is going to want to play those guys. Just because we haven't even really seen Enos and Pinion really going off at the same time. Like, it's usually one guy or the other guy, and they have some games where they're in double digits, but not to where, Enos was making 10, right? He's making 10 threes twice in a week. It's wild, man. Wild. I shine. All this BS about Mike leaving saying less than 50-50. We were just speaking about this a little while ago, buddy. You're going to have to rewind and watch back, but I'll just give you a little clip here on that. I'm not trusting something like that until we hear it from a Greg Allman, from a Rick Stroud and the crew over there. But would I be surprised if he left? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised. Texas kid going back home, playing in front of his friends and family for the final year of his career. Would it hurt? Yes. Would it suck? Yes. But would I understand it? Also, yes. But it's okay. You took a late lunch. You can go back and watch it. And I implore everybody to do that. Go back. If you ever missed the show, go back and watch it. Again, share this on your social media. We have the video and the audio. So you can watch it here on YouTube, but it's also on Spotify. It's also on Apple. It's also on iHeart. Ironically enough, my podcast is on iHeartRadio. So my employer for over 10 years, you can check out the Jay Recher podcast on there as well. So if you miss it, no problem. video, audio. We are definitely letting you guys know all of the local stuff here in the Tampa Bay area and the national news as well. All right, we're going to finish the show today talking about the most entertaining player in sports right now. And I watched Arena Zabalenka last night. I've seen Connor McDavid doing his thing. We obviously know that baseball's right around the corner with the World Baseball Classic, and we have Aaron Judge and we have Shohei Ohtani. I get that. We see Justin Gaethje fighting on the MMA side. We see soccer players. We see Cristiano Ronaldo still doing his thing. We see Erling Haaland for Man City and Kylian Mbappe for Real Madrid. Did you see that goal for Benfica over Real Madrid in the Champions League? Their goaltender, their keeper, scored the goal to propel them on to the final 16. Jose Mourinho and the crew there. Unbelievable performance. However, the best player to watch right now, the most entertaining athlete to watch in professional sports right now is Victor Wembanyama. I don't think it's close. Just to watch him. They went into Houston last night and beat Kevin Durant. That's a good Rockets team, and they wore them out. And if you remember, I've been saying for the last couple of months how big of a fan I am of Alperen Şengün, the big man for the Houston Rockets, and the way that they have him and Steven Adams and Thompson and KD, and they just have a really, really good group there. And they don't have to take a ton of threes. They rebound the hell out of the basketball. And Alperen Şengün had no answer for Victor Wembanyama. And we've seen smaller guys, Jalen Williams, OG Anunoby. We've seen smaller guys have a better time dealing with Wemby than what we saw last night. I saw so much frustration from one of the great young players in the game in Şengün last night. And just whatever Wemby did, the way that he alters shots, and it's not just the blocks, it's the way that he just alters the mindset of these offensive players driving into the lane where they just give up on trying to throw up a floater or try to make a layup because they're so scared and terrified about what Victor Wembanyama can do to their shot. And plus, offensively, he's a dynamo. He can dribble, he can shoot. It's insane, and he's not even close to the apex of his career. We saw a little bit of it for Team France in the Olympics a couple of years ago, where he gave the U.S. everything they can handle. Everything he can handle, or they can handle. And then last night, you just watch him, and if he is flying on all cylinders and firing on all cylinders, excuse me. If he's firing on all cylinders, watch out for the Spurs, because I feel like they have the Thunder's number, and you have to be deep. You have to have a bunch of big guys that are willing to give up fouls. It's almost like how it used to be with Shaq back in the day. Excuse me. I really like what he brings to the table. And the Spurs, they're not done. They got a ton of draft picks. They got a good young players. It looks like Dylan Harper is really coming into his own. I love Castle. De'Aaron Fox is quicker than a hiccup. They have the experience of a guy like Harrison Barnes. They're not done. They're not done. And again, right now, for my money, nobody more entertaining in sports than Victor Wembanyama. Get an opportunity to watch him, definitely go do so. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me today on the program. A big thank you to Ed Encina and Dr. Carlos Rodriguez for joining us. Tomorrow, back home at the home studio, we will have Eric Erlinson joining us at 12:30. We'll have our Royal Rumble roundtable at 1 o'clock with David Shealy from 10 Tampa Bay. We're also going to reach out to Matt Matera. We'll see if Ed Encina joins us. Corey Long is going to join the program as well. Big Royal Rumble on Saturday. Saudi Arabia. It's going to be rough. I'm going to be at practice. I'm going to have to ignore all social media. That's going to be tough. That's going to be a pain in the ass, but it's got to be done. It has got to be done. All right, follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. A big thank you to our partners, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and commercial needs. And, of course, EverHealth, 17 different locations in Pinellas County. The new age of healthcare. This is where you want to be. That's where I go. That's where you need to go, too. All right. I love you all. Lightning in action tonight against the Winnipeg Jets. Hopefully they can make it 2 in a row before the big Stadium Series matchup with the Bruins on Sunday. Do you smell that? I think I smell that too. Do you guys smell that? Oh, man. You know what that is? That's some of the Boston fans. Yeah, that's some of the Boston fans making their way down to Tampa. Hold your nose. Get ready to plug your nose. Make sure you get air fresheners and Lysol and all that stuff because all those dirty rat bastards are making their way down to the Tampa Bay area. God bless you and your sense of smell. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Jerry Recher Podcast. I'm gone.